Durham region is essentially in a buyer's market right now, but buyers are really nowhere to be found, or at least it feels that way, but it's not totally true. Buyer activity when it comes to showings being booked has kept fairly stable for most of the year, but when it comes to sales and offers being submitted, they've consistently declined since prices peaked around June. It feels like both buyers and sellers are playing a game right now, waiting to see who will flinch first. So we're going to take a deeper look into these stats, and I'm going to give you my advice for both buyers and sellers towards the end of this video. My name is Jessie McClellan, and I'm a realtor here in Oshawa, Ontario with the Lisa Abbott team. I try to provide you with an unfiltered and honest perspective on our real estate market with a focus on Durham region, so if that interests you and you'd like to stay up to date, please subscribe to the channel. Also, I've helped dozens of viewers buy and sell homes in this area, so if you'd like to ask me any questions about the process, you can use the link in the description to book a call with me at a time that works best for you. So let's jump right into what's changed. When looking at September compared to August, we saw new listings increase about 22%, but that's after we saw them drop off from July to August, which is fairly normal for that time of year. The number of sales has continued its downward trend as we had just 672 sales in September, a 5.2% drop from August. This means that our active inventory is still building, and the 8.8% increase last month brings us just shy of 2,400 active listings. When it comes to determining whether it's a buyer's or seller's market, the biggest indicators are months of inventory and the sales to new listing ratio. Both have continued to show that we're trending towards a buyer's market. Months of inventory increased to 3.6 months, which on its own would indicate a balanced but leaning towards a buyer's market, but our sales to new listing ratio is very low at just 34.2%, which indicates that we're building inventory pretty quickly and heading right into a buyer's market. Now that could change fairly soon, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment, but currently we're very close to a true buyer's market. The average price is continuing to slowly drop as we expect at this time of year and with these market conditions. In September, the Durham region average fell just under the $900,000 mark. And from a price perspective, we're basically back where we were at the beginning of the year in January. One notable area is Pickering, which is sitting at 4.8 months of inventory and a sales to new listing ratio below 30%. That market is very, very slow right now and is experiencing full-on buyer's market conditions. But besides that, there's not a lot of disparity between the different areas of Durham region. The disparity is more between home types. For example, condos are moving much slower than any freehold properties, and Durham region has over 4.5 months of condo inventory. So condos are very much a buyer's market right now. This can be said about a lot of price points and home types, but the gap between what sellers are valuing their condos at and what value would make sense for a buyer is just way too far apart. A lot of condos for sale are at a price point where the buyer can look at a freehold townhome and semi-detached options, especially when you factor in maintenance fees. So many aren't even considering condos. Prices will have to come down before those really start to move. There's also some contrast between price points. The first-time homebuyer homes are selling a bit quicker and have more activity than other price points in the market. But even then, buyers just aren't willing to play ball right now because they know that they have options and they're willing to wait it out. Anything north of $850,000, and especially the homes getting up to $1 million and higher price point, activity is much slower, and buyers' standards are very high. Buyers also have no sense of urgency because they're watching the majority of homes in those price points sit while doing price reductions. And they don't really feel like they need to jump at anything unless they feel like they're getting a really big discount or it's their absolute dream home. It feels like we're in a very similar spot to last year, but the market is just a bit slower. And it's not because we have significantly less sales or showings happening, it's just that there are more homes available that are sitting for longer periods of time because buyers are being very hesitant to offer. Maybe we see some slight bump in activity if there's a sizable rate decrease at the next rate announcement at the end of October, but that's when the market usually starts to dry up, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. Now, earlier when I said we're basically in a buyer's market, but that might change, what I meant was if this year plays out like last year, which seems fairly likely at this point, we'll see active listings drop sometime in November and then drop substantially in December, as most sellers do not want to deal with maintaining their homes for showings over the holidays, and they'll often pull their homes off the market and hope for better conditions closer to spring. So it takes us a while to build up inventory and dig ourselves out of those seller market conditions. But we'll probably see a noticeable bump in activity and likely prices as we do every year, unless we go into the spring market with a lot more inventory on the market. Of course, there are other factors as well that are unknowns. We don't know where the unemployment rate is going to be. We don't know how many rate cuts are going to be done by that time, the impact the new mortgage rules will have, and a million other things that will factor in as well. If people are feeling negative effects from the economy or uncertainty in the future of their career or the market in general, maybe we don't see as much of a bump. But I wanted to mention this because if you're going to be buying a home in 2024, keep a close eye on active inventory levels because they dropped very quickly last year and buyers were left with very little options. And whether you're a buyer or a seller, here's what we're experiencing right now across Durham region. Showings are slow. They are happening, but they're slow. If you're not getting showings, your price is likely not attractive to the buyers that are out there. Right now, those sellers are struggling to get any offers. They're not even seeing lowball offers come in. It just feels like a lot of the buyers out there right now are either not very serious or motivated, or they just don't feel the need to jump at anything. It was barely more than a year ago that buyers were willing to sacrifice so much just to own something. They would have let a train pass through their home if it meant they could own it. And today, it feels like if you don't roll out the red carpet and have a home blessed by the Pope himself, they aren't interested. So I would say that if you're a buyer right now, obviously take your time, get your home inspections and financing conditions into your offers, and make sure that you're getting a fair price, but I would encourage you to submit offers. It's going to vary by the price point that you're looking at, but sellers are not seeing offers. They're just happy to see a showing being booked, and if you could put pen to paper, honestly, even if it feels kind of like a lowball offer, they're more likely to want to work with you now than a month or two ago. But when the activity picks up again in the new year and they're seeing more showings and more talks of offers are happening, they're going to be a lot less likely to entertain those types of offers. And if you're a seller, now's not the time to be cutting corners. I'm seeing a lot of listings going up with bad iPhone pictures that make the property look bad. Maybe that's because the agent knows that the property is going to sit and not sell, so they don't want to invest money into it, but this is not the market to be cutting corners in. Even when a home is staged and has professional photography, it can still be a slower and more challenging process, and cutting corners is just shooting yourself in the foot. You're also going to have to be fairly aggressive and get a little ahead of the market with your pricing if you want to have the best shot at selling this year. But if you're buying too, you'll be buying in very favorable conditions, so it does help to balance it out. Also, be prepared to see underwhelming offers if you do get one. We're seeing lots of buyers wanting to include a condition on the sale of their property, and I think that's part of the reason we're not seeing a lot going on right now. I don't know how many agents I've talked to and how many buyers I've met from open houses who are out viewing homes but don't have their home up for sale or are even close to being ready for sale. So it's very hard for them to get a deal done because there's no motivation for those buyers, and sellers don't want to accept an offer that's conditional on the sale of a buyer's property. But those conditions are becoming much more common, so if you do end up going that route and accepting an offer with that condition, make sure it has an escape clause so you can still entertain other offers, and that your agent has done their due diligence and is confident that the buyer's property will be listed and priced correctly so it has the best chance of selling. Otherwise, there's no point in accepting it because the offer will not come together and it will only make your home harder to sell. There's a lot more I could say, but I don't want this video to drag on for you. If you have any questions, feel free to book a call with me. Even if you're not buying or selling a home right away, I'm more than happy to answer your questions and point you in the right direction. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one next week. Bye!